flight boss, bitch. For sure. Listen to the Mind of an Antares Moon. I'm the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucker responsibilities. And right now, we're going to talk about the esoteric meaning behind shape-shifting. Yeah. Now, before we even get into that, I got to break down a few disclaimers, because here's the thing, right? Once we start to talk about certain abilities and certain terms that we're utilizing, because Latin and grammatic, right? You're going to have certain people that's deep into lostness and indoctrinations. So as soon as you say certain words, they don't understand that this is something that we're all doing. So when you get into esoteric, ESO, this is something that's internal, individuality. This is how we work our spiritualities and know how to understand our desires, so we don't get washed up under these desires and feelings or chakras or whatever you want to call them, right? So before you get lost into the words, you know that this is just what you're doing innately before you get lost into the words and want to fight doctrines because you indoctrinated in some way, shape, or form. So when you have a group of individuals that want to control light, this is the concept of becoming a Lucifer, a person who's trying to control a body of knowledge, try to control information. And this is what I be pointing towards as far as the Masons and the shadow government. So, when you have people that's in power and rulership, right? They want the whole world to look at things in their visions, aka their ability to go to where we all got access to, esoteric energy. We all got access to understand the universe, or whatever you want to call it. But then when you have people that's in rulership, they want people to see it through their visions and how they look at the world in some way. So this is the creation of signs and sigils and language and literature and art, right? But for the most part, once you get into this kind of situation, that turns into exoteric, EXO, when things start to become common knowledge, aka whoever that's in rulership at the time, they're making the majority of the masses think about what we all got access to just within their visions. So whoever at rulership at the moment, they force the masses to look at the esoteric in their visions. So for the most part, this where esoteric become exoteric, things that become common knowledge, because whoever in rulership, their visions become what common knowledge and what people think that they know about forms of information. So this is the creation of Lucifer or Sons of Light or Masonry, understanding mystic energies and things of that nature, or your mystery. And they get y'all lost into history. So, making that disclaimer, right? They present movies and things like this to make y'all think that what you're doing, you're not doing these things. And then they over exaggerate it to make it seem like these are just imaginary stories, where all of these things is just what we're doing internally. Such and such things like astral projection, the astral traveling. Like the moment a Protestant or someone hear these terms, they make it seem, they try to come up with these Google or what these ancient philosophers taught them, and then they contradict themselves because they're actually utilizing astral projection and astral traveling to discuss whatever that they're talking about. AKA, stop getting lost into over exaggeration in Walt Disney and movies like that. Because and books that teach y'all about witchcraft, because the authors named King James and stuff. Because what you need to understand, when you think about astro is external, outside of you, right? Is you taking your internal and externalizing that. So that's astro, right? So that's like the realm of thought and feeling. So when you astral project, don't get lost into the words. Understand what these things are. Astral, right? Project. So you're projecting something into the astral. So that could be nothing more, nothing less but a goddamn thought form. The moment you sit here and have an imagination, you just projected an image. You just projected something. So for the most part, when you think you're at a beach, but you're sitting on your ass somewhere, but you think you're at a beach, or you think you at the movies, or you think you just astral projected. Now, think about when you start to experience that. You start to do things in what you just projected. Oh, you projected you at school? Now you projecting you walking in the hallway. You're actually astral traveling now, because you're traveling within an event that's in the astral realm that haven't even took a physical course yet, because it haven't became dense. So that's the ramifications of astral travel and astral projection. So what is the whole purpose of wasting your time having 2,000-year-old arguments and debates about New Age or whatever, which Peter and Paul was the first New Agers? But what's the whole purpose of doing that when that's just you're just showing an example of your loss in terminology? You're just showing an example that you're lost in man's language and law without understanding this is what you're actually doing, and you're casting stones thinking that you don't have powers of these abilities, because when they teach you astral projection and astral traveling, they over exaggerate it within their movies to make you think that you don't got these capabilities, so you don't see this within yourself. You don't know how to reflect this within yourself. So that makes you the fool card out of the tarot card, where you need the other numbers 1 through 9 and all the other numbers to know yourself, your spirit, your space, which is no thing. It's just your parameter. And in order for you to become aware, that's when you start to create numbers, the numino. Your forms of awareness becomes things that you are conscious, becomes energy. So now you are aware of your conscious, and your conscious develop into energy in some way, shape, or form. And that's what we develop into layers, and that become dense all the way when they say, and the word was with God, and the word became flesh, or everything was created with the goddamn word. It's talking about the vibration. Everything was created with the vibration, and we can make signs and sigils and words of externalizing from these vibrations and feelings in some way, shape, or form. So getting into the actual video, shape-shifting. Now that everyone is on the actual level, aka mental pilots, to be able to understand what these things are, internal things that we are actually doing, external traveling, internal traveling. And when we internal travel, we get to understand what we have created externally and everything outside of us, aka you have a little bit more wisdom and knowledge when you're participating within life via person, place, or thing, circumstance, or situation, to the point that you don't even have to utilize or be in a lot of these magic squares or learn a lot of things that you think you have to learn based upon your upbringing, your geographical location, that will help you build security, to even know how to obtain these things, or to have a level of intelligence, or to have forms of wisdom, because you are understanding life on how it's being perceived, aka the same position that these ancient philosophers that everybody are stealing knowledge from, the space that they was in, instead of you being piggybacking off somebody's pyramid scheme, aka lost into a worldview or some other man and woman's philosophical point of view about the world. Now, for the most part, like I said, so once we understand the concept of this is what we're doing with ourselves, shape shifting. Now, you as a god or goddess, you as a spirit, you create your sons of gods. Your sons of gods develop into mentalities, because you is that god or goddess, and these are your sons. And you have masculine and feminine versions of these things. You know what I'm saying? So, in terminology, when y'all look up, y'all could call that like sun and moon, you know what I'm saying, Venus, Mars. But for the most part, correlated to your chakras, these are just natures before we have fully externalized ourselves. These are our light bodies, right? Before we have created the daughters of men, the more dense version of that. You know what I'm saying? Same way you see the solar system reproducing transits to create alchemy elements and periodic tables and things of that nature. That's basically, this is a mini version of what you're doing as a spirit. You see what I'm saying? So as far as the spaceship you create, your solar system, your chakras you create as a spirit, to be aware of yourself and to have other spirits doing the same thing, aware of your parameter. You know what I'm saying? So there don't be no stepping stones and smothering people's spaces in some way, shape, or form, where we can experience our individuality but make it more relatable, because we're creating relatability. The more we're creating shapes and forms that we could combine together, and teamwork makes the dream work. And this is what we see as stars or chakras, or things that we can live in. And y'all drink stars, aka water. And this is what your body made out of, aka this is what it is. So it's made out of your mentality, because this is what derived this. Now here's the thing: once we start to talk about shape shifting, these are light in density. So it's light in weight, aka your light bodies ain't light as in spectrums of light. And the concept of how we even created that is bringing a lot of mini electro sparks and things of that nature together to create a masses. And a masses is massive or heavy enough to come into a realm of reality, to give off a spectrum or a rainbow in some way, shape, or form. So for the most part, that would be the actual perspective. So when you think about shape shifting, your mentality can move, is very fluid. Your minds is very fluid. Your feelings and your thoughts is very fluid. Your feelings is your feminine side of your minds, and your thoughts is your masculine side, and everything has a yin and yang. So thoughts and ideas is more received. So for the most part, that would be the feminine side of your left spectrum hemisphere. You know what I'm saying? So